Well, hey everybody, welcome to this new series that I'm starting in the Asp Unlimited app, and we're gonna share it over to Active Self-Protection Extra as well. I wanna talk about pistol-mounted optics. I realized that I have never done a series on how to start with a pistol-mounted optic, what's colloquially and commonly called a red dot. And if you are thinking about moving to a red dot, or you've decided, hey man, my eyes are old or whatever, then it's time. I want the benefits of it, but I am worried about making that transition. This series is going to be all about that. So the first part that we're going to talk about today is how to choose which optic to put on your pistol. Today's video is brought to us by Mantis. The Mantis family of products is integral to Asp staff building handgun and carbine skills, and are your most economical and fastest path to improvement in your skills too. Whether you choose the X10, the Laser Academy, the Blackbeard, or use them all in concert, they will help your practice be more effective, efficient, and fun. Go check them out, pick up a unit, and thank them for sponsoring today's video. So there are kind of a blinding array of available choices here. You see on this particular gun, I have a Holosun 507C in green. This is Theseus, was my carry gun for a number of years, is now my training gun. On this one, instead, I have a Gideon Optics Omega, and you can see that guy right here. It's one I'm just testing. It's not one I recommend yet, but it's got kind of a big window on the front. You can kind of see that. I'll let you kind of come in and see that big window in the front, those kinds of things. I also have this particular P30 that has a Steiner MPS on it, and that's kind of like a big mailbox is what that is. And these are what we call a closed emitter optic. And so which one is the right one for your gun? Now, okay, YouTube privilege here that I have multiple options, okay? And I'm gonna tell you, this is my carry gun. It's an HK P30 built by Langdon Tactical. It's an LTT. It's a very custom gun. And I use the Holosun 507C in green in circle only, but that's very much preference, okay? So when it comes time to buy a dot, a couple of things. Number one, what's your purpose? Number two, what is your budget, okay? And number three, what gun do you have? Because those three questions are going to determine what it is that you're gonna put on your gun. Because if you have one of the little bitty guns, the micro nines, right? So if you have a SIG P365, or you have a Glock 48, or you have, I guess, the 43X, or it is the one I'm actually thinking of here. Or if you have, God forbid, a Springfield Hellcat or something, not one of the older ones, hopefully one of the newer pros. But, any of those guns take a compact, a very small footprint, and most of them are either the RMR-C, so the real small one, or some take the Shield compact footprint, or there's only a couple in that arena. I kind of, I'm more to the bigger guns here that have the full-size optic footprint, so there's really a couple ways you can go with this, right? So they really kind of make them in three different footprints, and so which gun you have will determine a little bit. Because if you got one of the smaller ones, you got to choose one of those smaller dots. I mean, it's just all that there is available. If you're going with anything that's kind of the double stack, this normal size width, Glock 17, 19, 22, 23, HK VP9, or SIG P320, or Walther PDP, or a gun like that, right? Then there's a whole lot more. And really, in this size of gun, there's really two footprints that predominate, okay? And those footprints are known as either the RMR footprint or the Aimpoint Acro footprint. And those are the two that absolutely predominate. And this Holosun sits on the RMR footprint. So why? Because Trijicon was first to the market, okay? Trijicon came out with a Trijicon RMR, the ruggedized miniature reticle, and put it on a pistol first. It was kind of the first one that was commercially available for competition, or well, for defensive use, in fact. You can go back way farther than that and find dots that are in competition use that weren't slide mounted, that there's all kinds of other stuff with that, okay? But the RMR was the first one. So this Holosun 507 sits on that footprint. The Trijicon SRO sits on that footprint. The Gideon Omega sits on that footprint. The other footprint that you're gonna see available is the Acro footprint, and that's this kind of, mailbox one. It's an enclosed emitter that they call it. And this one is sitting on that same Aimpoint Acro footprint. Which one's better? Well, that's a matter of personal preference. So let's talk about that for just a second, because some people really like the enclosed emitter because they say, well, John, this one is less likely to get crapped up. One of the things with the open emitter design, and that's this design here that you can see, is the fact that it has this open little spot down here in the bottom, and you can get junk in there. And that's where the emitter comes that puts the dot on the window that you see when you're aiming the gun. And so they say, well, because you can get water in there, you can get snow in there, you can get dirt in there, you can get belly button lint in there, and that will cause the optic not to work. So therefore, I like the closed emitter dot because it doesn't have that problem. You just have the windows front and back. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. I think if you're gonna carry the gun openly, so say for instance you were a police officer, that'd be a different mission, but you get it, or you're an open carrier and you carry your gun openly all the time, then maybe the enclosed emitter dot would make some sense. I think for concealed carriers, it's always under a shirt for me, and so I don't worry about it getting wet. I don't worry about, it fogging up. We'll talk about fogging and how to fix that in another episode. Really easy. You just put some of the anti-fog coating on it. Do that, every few months, and you'll never have the problem, okay? And so, which one of those is best? It's a pure matter of preference. Now, within those, what budget do you spend? Well, that really depends on your budget. The thing is that I would really recommend to you is to look on the old interwebs there, and you can find at various price points, and you can find various optics on both footprints. Now, I'm gonna tell you, these enclosed ones are expensive, right? So you're starting to talk $500 to $700 for these. Now, if you go with the Trijicon products, really you're in the same ballpark, $500 to $700. If you get down to the Holosuns, this is a Holosun 507C, you're talking like $350, right? Now, if you get down to these Gideons, now I haven't tested this one yet, I'm not recommending it yet, and I don't know if I will. This guy here you can get for under $250 at retail. And so which one is right? Well, it depends on the purpose of your gun. If you are going to just go to the range with it, if it's just a range gun that lives in the safe otherwise, well, buy whichever one you want. If you go, hey, I want to try this $180 optic that I found at, on sale in a bargain bin at Cabela's, great, go for it, man. That's wonderful. But I think if you're gonna carry it for defensive use, right? So I'm not talking about a competition gun, I'm not talking about a range gun, I'm talking about a gun that you put on your person to protect your life, then I would really only recommend 3 brands right now. And that means anything by Trijicon is probably gonna be good, anything by Holosun is probably gonna be good, anything by Aimpoint is probably going to be good. And those are the only 3 companies that right now I can say their optics are 100% rock solid reliable. Anything mechanical can break, right? Your gun can break, your car can break down, your computer breaks, but I'm saying they are known reliable. Those 3 brands, Trijicon, Holosun, and Aimpoint would be who I would stay to. And so you're looking, a few $100, anywhere from maybe $350 up to $700 for the optic. And usually on all these, you gotta have some kind of mounting plate that goes between the gun and the optic. So you see here, let's see if I can get it to kind of focus. You can see there's a little mounting plate between the optic and the gun. And those can cost a little bit of money as well. Usually, if you buy an optics ready gun, the optics mounting plate from the company are $30 or something like that. Not a ton of money. If you have to go to custom ones, I run P30s, and so they take more expensive ones. There's only 2 choices. It's either the Langdon Tactical Optics Cut or the Right Armory iDot. Those are the only 2 options on the market. So they're a couple $100 to put on the gun because I got to mill it and all that stuff, okay? So which dot is best for you? Man, I'd recommend, if at all possible, if you have a friend that has dots, ask them to test them, right? Ask them to see which one is best for you. If you have a range nearby that you can go and rent some guns, and maybe for $15 or $30, you get to rent several guns, and from that you can decide kind of which one looks best to you, then awesome, okay? I will tell you, if you have astigmatism, I do like a couple things. So people do ask, like, which better, John, red or green? I think it's totally personal preference. I think your eyes see different than mine, and your brain processes that incoming information differently than mine does. And so you might like red better, you might like green better. If you have astigmatism, if you look through the dot and you get this weird blur, or you get a blob, or you get a comet or something like that, I might recommend that you try the Holosun 507 in circle only. We've got a video on Asp Extra about that, and that you think about the green. What I've generally found in working with other people with astigmatism, I have astigmatism, the green and in circle only, pretty close to solves the problem, but it does take a little different shooting technique, okay? So that's what I would recommend in terms of going and checking one out. Now then, let's talk about using it in video 2.